over the years, we've had moments where, we've had arguments about work and we like kind of look at each other going, what are we doing this for? Like, if it's affecting our relationship, what the hell are we doing this for? Like, we are working this hard so that we have a great future. So, we can spend more time with our family, so we can have, more things in life. But if we don't have each other, then what the hell is the point?
G'day guys, welcome back to another episode of Level Up. We are back in the shed this afternoon for another cracking episode. I am super pumped about this one because the lady we have with us today is an absolute inspiration. We've just been having a chat before we started recording and the energy is fantastic. Her and her husband buy and develop houses around Brisbane, build incredible properties. She was diagnosed with cancer when she was 27. The whole team wear pink as part of their awareness for breast cancer. And she's just taken out the Queensland Master Builders Women in Construction for 2023, mate. That is a big achievement. So big warm welcome to Tarah from Activates Construction. How are you?
Yeah, good. Thanks for having me, Dwayne. This is awesome.
Yeah, look, we've got heaps to discuss. So let's see where this goes.
Yeah.
But hats off to you for just taking out the women in construction. Like you must be pretty proud of that.
Yeah, it was a big surprise. I didn't realize, I was saying before we started recording that I got there and they started presenting awards for a lot of the homes that have been presented, and I saw that they were just handing out the awards without having to say anything. And so we were up in the back table near the bar. We had a whole crew there. We bought a whole table, so we were having a great time. And my office manager kept leaning over me. She kept saying, have you got something in your pocket to say? And then when I saw that no one had to say anything, I was like, sweet, I'm okay. Knocking back some wines. And so then when they did announce that it was me, I just had, first of all, it was a complete surprise because there was a lot of good contenders, other women in there. And then so I had the long walk, from the back near the bar to get up onto stage to say a few things. So first thing that came to mind was, only 11% makes up women in construction. And so I just sort of threw that out there and I was like, well, I hope this inspires more women to get into the industry. And yeah, I guess, when you approached me to come and have a chat on the podcast, I was like, well, what better opportunity to inspire hopefully a few more women to get into it and lift that number.
Oh, I love it. I think it's we've been having lots of conversation about this lately. A lot of the builders that I talk to now through my socials and things, we're all trying to employ females. I think There's definitely I know, we have multiple businesses. Like none of my businesses would be where they are if it wasn't for, I'm surrounded by women.
Yeah.
One of my businesses is 5 women. In my construction business, we got my wife and accounts manager. I think you bring so much to the table.
Yeah.
And I know we're definitely starting to see more females in the trade and the building space now as well.
Yeah, for sure. It's great. I think that's numbers rising. We've got our first female chippy that started this year, and
awesome.
She gets in and does it. I actually am a bit tentative with my back at the moment because I lifted a generator onto a ute the other day, and I was like, I still got to remember I'm not as strong as some of the other guys and everything. But yeah definitely. If it's not that, then there's other things that you can be doing, and I think that they talk about a female touch, or I think. Just from a DNA perspective, we're wired differently, we notice things that maybe, and I don't mean to generalize too much, but, I guess we're just wired to see things differently than, what potentially some other guys can do. So it definitely brings value, I think, to any business.
I think it's, I talk a lot about, you need to know, your strengths and your passion. And, I'm a big fan. I actually had a team meeting individually with my team this morning, and we try and have regular reviews, not as much as we should, but I've encouraged them to tell me their goals so we can grow together and help them achieve them, all those types of things. But I really like encouraging your team to tell me what you love, tell me what you're good at, tell me what you come to work every day for, tell me the tasks that give you anxiety and you don't like so much, so that we can make sure you're doing things. Because when people are doing the things they love, production's so much better.
For sure.
It's no different between with females and males. I feel like there's a lot of builders out there that are hesitant on employing female trades
Mm-hmm.
because like you just said, like you realize that you're not quite as strong as some of the men. Like you've got to know your strengths and your weaknesses.
For sure. There's lots of other ways you can do things. But,
Yeah.
I mean, we spoke before that I've spoken at an event for NAWIC, the National Association of Women in Construction, and the amount of girls that are there doing trades like, you know, welding or being a sparky, you know, trades where, you know, you don't have to stand a frame or anything like that, but you could still be an amazing tradie and do that. And then there was a lot of women there that was, you know, sort of looking at just the project management side of things. You know, they aspire to be a builder and to be able to do that, which, you know, I think seeing that rise and, you know, I think the world that we're living in today, it's kind of like you can literally be anything, anyone, you know, that you want to be. And I think that's really good. And there's ways around it. But I think definitely lots of opportunities in the future.
Like even if it's not male and female, like everyone's better at something and enjoys doing something. So it's whether it's male or female, it's about figuring out what that is, isn't it? And then using it as your superpower and focusing on that. So
yeah, for sure.
How did you go about finding your female chippy?
Well, we have expanded recently in the last couple of years. We kind of went from doing, you know, 2 homes a year to we're now, by the end of this year, we would have listed and sold 9 homes. And obviously we have more homes in the pipeline, which will be finished off next year. But we had our general manager actually had a construction company, and he was sort of contracting his chippies to us and approached us a couple of years back and was sort of like, you know, I'd really love if, you know, your company was able to gear up to be able to take all our crews on. Yeah. And so pretty much we just changed our business model. We were like, yep. And Adam, my husband, just went out and bought as many, you know, homes as he could. And we sort of geared up that way. And it was actually his daughter was kind of working in with us. You know, she didn't love schooling and everything. And she was kind of just being a lackey, roaming around. And I think, to be honest, you know, she kind of saw that there was a good opportunity. I don't know that she'll always be on the tools, but if she does want to get into building and be a good builder, like her dad was like, you know, you really need to be able to see how it goes on. And would you be interested, you know, to do a trade? And she was straight up like, yep. And yeah, she's just a go-getter. She just wants to be amongst it, be amongst the team, you know, create something with her hands. And I think, you know, eventually she's going to make a fantastic builder because she's actually done that as well and really done the hard yards from the get-go.
I think it's fantastic. So you've actually got your builder's license?
Yeah, I do. I am not a tradie, even though I, you know, commend her on doing that. My husband and I bought our first home like 18 years ago now, and we sort of did the whole owner-builder thing ourselves. Took 2 years. I climbed up a gorilla ladder to, you know, to get into my house with groceries and everything like that for a good 2 years.
See, these are the things that people don't see.
People don't see. They see all the glory. You know, they might see our house now and they're like, oh, wow, you know, they're so lucky. And it's so amazing because, you know, the harder you work, the luckier you seem to get.
Don't luck.
Yeah.
You don't luck.
So, you know, we did all the hard yards. We did everything. We had... we didn't have a roof for a good amount of time because we were doing an extension on our reno. And I remembered being up on the roof and we had a billboard banner. It was a Spider-Man 3 billboard with, you know, Tobey Maguire on it, draped over our roof to stop the rain coming in because it was, you know, those summer rains were coming in the afternoon. And I'm trying to hold this bloody billboard down and Adam's on one end and we're up on the roof. Like, oh my God, looking back on it now, you know, if I could see my kids doing that, I'd have a fit. But, so that's what we did.
What's the background? So what were you
I was actually a beauty therapist. Yeah. So we were just renovating our house on, you know, the weekends and things like that, doing it all ourselves, you know. I was like his right-hand man because he was a carpenter. Yeah. He was actually still doing his trade. He was a bit older when he started his trade because we did a stint overseas, came back and sort of like, what are we going to do with our lives? So I went off and did beauty therapy and he's like, well, I might go and get a trade. And so then, you know, he's probably like a second-year apprentice or something like that. And we did our owner builder and just had to kind of work it out and do a lot. So I think that sort of projected me into learning a lot. You know, the project management side for me is like the stronger suit. Like I like being very organized. I like planning ahead. And, you know, you need to be a good planner to be a builder. So, you know, just dealing with the trades, we've got amazing trades that, you know, our plumber, for example, worked on that house that I was talking about 18 years ago, and he still does all our homes now. You know, we've seen them have kids and get married and all that sort of stuff. And, you know, it's really great because you learn so much by having good relationships with your tradies.
It's all about relationships, isn't it?
For sure. No. And, you know, for me, I think even though not having done a trade, I feel like I just know a little bit of everything to let me get by. You know, I feel I'm constantly kind of proving myself, but I think, you know, that's like anything, I guess. You know, if you want a job to be run well, you know, people need to be able to trust you. They need to be able to know that, you know, you're knowledgeable enough and you know what you're talking about, you know, to be able to take guidance, I guess. But these days, there's not a lot of guidance we need to even give because everyone's, you know, sort of on the same page because we've had those years of relationships.
Yeah. So I'm super keen to learn more about what drives you. Like I think like there'll be so many people listening to this podcast will be thinking like how they got to where they are. Like like your story, like you've been through breast cancer, you started as a beauty therapist. Like what has driven you? And so now, 18 years later, you've obviously overcome breast cancer, which I'm keen to talk more about.
Sure.
But you're now basically buying, building, developing your own projects. Like you pretty much don't do, or you do very little work for clients.
For sure,
so what is driving you?
Well, I guess for us, it actually came off the back of when I was sick. So, you know, we'd sort of done a couple of homes. We sold our first home after, you know, sort of working on it for 3 years. And we you know, I mean, we made a really good profit off that. We were surprisingly got the highest result in Kedron at the time. And it was just when I was pregnant with our first child. And then it wasn't long after that I got diagnosed. And so just out of a lack of, you know, resources, my son wasn't able to go to childcare while I was going through chemo and everything. And because he was just getting too sick, you know, when the little kids, you send them off to daycare, they come home with all these dreaded lurgies. And so Adam just said, you know, I'm just not going to work. I'm just going to take care of you, take care of our son. But then obviously we needed to have income. And so, we were sort of doing little renos on the side, you know, just, you know, renovating little post-wars and stuff like that. And
so buying, renovating, selling.
Yeah, pretty much. We did like a couple just to scrape by. I mean, minimal, like, you know, profit margins on that at the time. And, you know, we were just kind of going backwards. And luckily we did have, you know, some form of income protection, which was good to help as well. But it really came down to that we were sort of just really gearing up to be able to do, you know, a full home, not just, you know, doing a kitchen, doing a bathroom. And so it was probably about 18 months after, you know, doing a couple of flips that we were able to afford to do a single home, a single dwelling. And we, you know, did the whole thing, raised and renovated. And
but like some people wouldn't, like some people would get diagnosed with something and they're like, it almost becomes like an excuse. Like they'd give up on their dreams and like fall into a hole. Like you've had something that's kept driving you.
I mean, I think for me, it was a big kicker. I think it definitely, I mean, it sounds really cliche. You know, you get diagnosed with something and it's like, oh, it puts life into perspective. And it kind of does, you know, like on a daily, I think about it daily. You know, once you've had, I was stage 3, you know, my prognosis was not great. You know, it had spread into my lymph nodes and, you know, they said to me, we're going to give you a mastectomy based on whether it had spread or not. And, you know, to hear that at 27, you know, as far as I was concerned, other people got cancer. Old ladies got cancer in their breasts, you know. I was really healthy, you know, I was very, very regularly exercised and I breastfed my kid. And so I ticked all the boxes. So then to be told that, you know, you could lose your life, it sort of really propelled us into being like, well, you know, if this is it, you know, you got to make the most of it. And so, you know, I think that really made us hungry for it, you know. The late nights of, you know, sanding floors in these homes and doing things on the weekends and stuff like that.
But you're doing all this while you're recovering.
Yeah, exactly. So I think, you know, I honestly feel like it just put my life into perspective. And we realized that, you know, there could be a reoccurrence, even though then I got cleared, you know, after I'd finished chemo. I did radiation as well. And then I was on like a hormone treatment. So, you know, they were like, you're not allowed to have another child or even try for another child for 5 years after I'd finished treatment. So, I guess to me as that distraction, all my friends were starting to get married, all my friends were starting to have babies, and that was the one thing I wasn't able to do. So I needed something. So I sort of saw these houses as my babies, I guess. That was something that I just shift focus. My husband and I really loved doing it together. He was able to use his hands. I was really good at the design side of things. And, we touched on being a bit ADHD and, I think for me, I was like, I see a lot of patterns with things, and I was able to sort of stay abreast of some of the design selections and where things were going. Yeah. And I sort of really honed in on that. Sort of people really seemed to like selections I was doing and sort of like, oh, that's great. Then we sort of kind of got traction off that. It was just rinse and repeat until, we weren't moving into these homes. We were able to just do it and still pay tax and, and it just kept growing like that until now we could build new homes from scratch. It wasn't just hard renos and stuff like that. And so we did have to do clients in between, but now we've sort of got that freedom. We can go on holidays and stuff like that, and the phone's not ringing all the time because we've got great staff that sort of help, and they know that, if they make a decision, the only person they're going to deal with is me, and me being unhappy with this, design thing that they've implemented while I'm gone. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, I think it's fantastic. So you, again, comes back to relationships. I'm sure, like, you built good relationships with real estate agents and things now. For sure. So, like, there's a network that's, like, ringing you about property, and you're getting sort of first dibs and things. So, like, you put in the hard yards, you're now getting the rewards. Yeah, for sure. I mean, it was very difficult at the time. We literally went back to zero. We pretty much asked for a loan from a family member to buy a house for, $400,000 or something like that. And, they helped us with a deposit. Back then you only needed like 60 grand or something like that, which is still a lot of money. But, they were like, yep. And we had to pay interest. And, when we did that home and we sold it, we were able to pay back that loan with the interest and, be able to go like, now we've got enough money to do one, without the loan, and that's essentially kind of how it started off. And I think, everyone's got to start from somewhere, right? Yeah. And, we've been doing it, like I said, 18 years, and it was very slow at first. And it's probably only realistically been kind of in the last 9 years that we've been, really building on those relationships. We see the same faces and, a lot of people that are stuck by us that kind of, But you built, like, from what I see on the outside, like, you've built a pretty tight brand. Like, there's people now that are looking for your next project. Like,
yeah. I mean, I think that helps that we only build sort of within 3K of our home. So those people are kind of like, yeah, right. Well, we want to be in inner city, northern suburbs. They know that they're going to be pretty close, to somewhere where Activates is building. But for us, it came down to, we got a young family. We ended up going and having a second child, after I was sick. And so for us to be able to manage these projects properly, we need to be able to get to site. A lot of trades will ring you and they're like, you say, ring me when you're 10 minutes away. They will always ring you when they're sitting out the front. Yeah. So, we want to be able to get nice, be nice and close and have access to all those sites all the time. And it's also about, for us, we need to know those suburbs. We need to know, what buyers will be looking for. And we always build, like people say, you can just tell it's an Activates home. And I guess for us, it's because we're building it as if we would move our family into it. Yeah. So I think that for me is something that I think has created that brand, is we're always like, we're a family business and we design it as if we were going to be moving in and how our family would live in it. We love to entertain. We love having our kids close. We also love when our kids can just go and have their own space, so that's really what's a big passion for us and a driving force in creating. You've
created a niche, like, with probably not even knowing it. Like, you've, the pink shirts, obviously. So your entire team wears pink shirts? Our entire
team wears pink, yep. There was a few boys at first. It was funny when our now GM sort of came over and, the crews that were otherwise contracting were like, now their team Activates. And we were like, well, here's your shirts that we, have been supplied by Bisley. They sponsor us, which is great. And, the guys now knowing that they belong to this team that what we're now doing is we're corporate partners with the National Breast Cancer Foundation. And it's really important, I think, to talk about your health, and yes, it's breast cancer, and the percentage of men getting breast cancer isn't very high, but, it's with 1 in 7 women being diagnosed at some stage in their lives, most of the guys have someone that's been affected, and I think it's just that matter of chatting about it. And we used to get, I remember this concreter once rocked up and was like, oh, you faggots in your pink shirts. And, my husband was like, and I was standing there. It was like, my wife actually had breast cancer. That's why we wear it.
Did he get
And this concreter was like, oh my God, my mum passed away from breast cancer. And Adam's like, well, there you go, mate. And this guy just changed his tune. He was just like, that's so great that you guys are supporting it.
Yeah.
And just in the last 12 months, we decided to donate $5,000 from the sale of every home, from the profits of every home, to the National Breast Cancer Foundation. And, it's our little part of we finally feel like we're in that position where we can actually start to make a difference. And, no matter what my future holds, it's kind of like our legacy, You
got to give together, don't you?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And, I've got, like I said, 2 kids, and I want to make sure that we can, make breast cancer a thing of the past. And so, if we can assist with some funding and research and finding a cure, then that's all right by me.
Yeah, look, I definitely, mother-in-law's, well, when I say recently had it, in the past few years, I know quite a few people, friends and family, so it is something that impacts a lot of people. So it's incredible that you're putting this awareness out there, but in the process, you're also building this incredible brand.
Yeah, not a lot of guys are willing to put on pink shirts, but I think it definitely makes us easy to spot. That's for sure. If you see us down at Bunnings, we have a few people that are like, oh, you guys are those pink shirt wearing people.
Branding is huge, but there's builders around Brisbane that are big on the socials. The ones that do really well are the ones that create brands.
Yeah, for sure.
You can everyone's so caught up in a name and the name trying to mean something, but you really want to be building a brand that stands out to people. And to have a following, people now waiting for you to build your next project so that they can come on an auction and buy one of your homes. That must be pretty exciting.
Oh, it definitely is. We get constantly emails, can we see the plans? Will you consider selling before? Sometimes we just have people just literally hanging out this front. And I actually had to send a text message to all the supervisors yesterday, just do not let anyone on site. Someone rocked up recently and sort of was like, oh, I've got a text message from Tarah. I'm like, BS they do. Who the hell is this person? But, our supervisor's trying to do the right thing. I'm like, no, just don't let them on site. It's just too hard to manage. And, because we've got so many projects, we want to show our finished product, and that's the thing. And, people fall in love with our product and seeing it all completed. I don't care how good your imagination is. To me, even, and I select most of the things. There are times I walk on site and I'm like, shit, I hope that's okay. And then when I see it all come together, I'm like, yes, cool. I wasn't drunk or something when I made those selections, So to me, it's sometimes you just need to see everything finished. And I think that for us is one of the things is we want everyone on an even playing field. If you really want our products, it's not about exclusivity. It's not about who we just want to put it out there. And, for us, we very rarely have long sales campaigns. We had one this year that sat on there a bit longer, but generally our homes are under contract within 7 days unless we go to auction, and they always sell at auction. We've never not sold at auction. So I think that for us is something that just shows we just want to keep the stock moving, and we just go and get something else so we can build another beautiful home somewhere else. So
I'm super keen to dig into your business model because it's every builder's dream. Builders, that's they get to a point where they've got no systems and processes. They can't handle the clients, or they just blame the clients for everything. And all you hear is I just want to get to that point where I've got enough cash that I can piss the clients off and just do my own projects. But it's not that easy. You've got to bankroll the whole thing. You don't have the drawers coming in. You don't have cash flow. You've got to fund that job from start to finish. Well, from start to sale.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
How have you've obviously managed to do it very well.
Well, I mean, it hasn't been easy, but for us, it's, it's a lot of risk. And I think that's the thing that we people don't understand is, we can tell people how we've done it, But, those people, I've never had a loan on my car. I've never had a loan on any machinery. I've never done any of that stuff. So, I try to tell people what we've done and they're like, oh yeah, but I just really love my European car. I'm not like, all that comes into consideration, So we did take risks, but I feel like for us, it was always calculated risks.
Yeah.
I mean,
everyone's looking for the quick fix, eh?
That's exactly right. But I mean, we're lucky enough that we live in an amazing city that has lots of growth. I mean, everyone keeps talking and spruiking the Olympics and everything like that. It's true. I mean, I'm from Victoria originally, and when I go down to Melbourne, I see where it's at, and I understand why heaps of people are moving up here.
Yeah.
It's just
Brisbane ain't slowing down.
It's not. No, if you look at any of those southern states, there's
too many people wanting to be here, and we've got so much room to grow.
Absolutely. So yes, it is a risk, and we do bankroll everything, but it's a calculated risk. And I think for us, as long as we're working off the worst case scenarios, and that's what we always do. We work off the absolute worst case scenario.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. I said to you, the last 3 projects, we pretty much just broke even. And that's because we bought at the height of the market. The market went bunters there for a while. And then we saw these interest rate rises. And, some of the stock we'd held longer because we had to go through DA and, council was backlogged and everything like that. And then your BA. And by the time we actually finished that property off, there was a lot of people that, didn't have the capacity to borrow what they could have borrowed 12 months ago.
Yeah.
And so we were kind of capped and we were stuck with these projects. But at the same point, it's like, yep, that's crap. But if we sell that, we're buying in a more suppressed market. And then hopefully, we'll just keep riding the waves. Because it's just, for us, it swings and roundabouts. There's been times there where, like I said to you, you could still buy for, within 7K from the city for 700,000. That's unheard of now.
Like a lot of what I try to get out there is it's all you.
Yeah.
Like you could document your process and everything you do. But like you just said, like you've done the hard yards. Like so many people out there see all the stuff on Instagram, like, oh, this is fantastic. How come they can do that? Why can't I do that? But they can't do it because they've just gone and bought the new dual cab or they've been on a month-long holiday. Like everyone wants that quick dopamine hit right now. Like
absolutely.
If you want to be successful, sometimes you've got to cut back. You've got to do the hard yards. You've got to put the time in, the money in, the effort in
for sure
to get the reward. Like it's not just as simple as going and purchasing a property and developing it and then getting the cream at the end.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I'm sure you do months of homework. Well, you've probably got data now. Like
we do. We've got a spreadsheet. We will bring up. We'll see it. We're on realestate.com several times a day anyway. And, we see a property and, you go to PD online, you check it out and you're like, yep, flood. No. Okay. Where's the sewer? You do your dial before your digs. And, generally when we're ringing an agent, we find out what that house or that land, what the sale price is going to be. And we're like, okay, cool. So if we build an activates home, what would your end sale price be in your opinion to the agent? And we stick it in. And obviously we're like, worst case scenario, we take a couple $100,000 off. And we know within 30 seconds if that's a property for us or not. Yeah. So, we're so stringent on our costs. And like you were saying, there's so many people that are operating these days and they're just not fully over that.
Most builders don't know what their last job actually cost them.
Exactly.
And yet they're sitting down, they're pricing a new job and they got no idea what the carpentry cost on the job they just finished, what the cladding was, what the concreting was. They're just
absolutely
pulling figures out of thin air. Probably the most important thing is, and I'm sure you're all over this, like most, not just builders, trades as well, most people actually don't know what they actually made from the last job they finished.
That's crazy, hey?
It's unbelievable.
We were talking about pre-COVID and then after COVID and, how much our costs went up. And, I know that our costs have gone up about 40%, since what we were building in 2019 to now. And I was saying to you that I think there's that perception that, builders are just, rolling in it and, they're just screwing us down all the time. And, and there's so many people I hear talking about, they built through COVID and all this sort of stuff. It's gone crazy now. I can't, price is going to go backwards. And I'm like, no, they're not going to go backwards because that's the prices now, It's not that we're taking the piss. We're not making an extra 20%. Most builders are working on sort of 20%, if that.
Well,
so when obviously you were saying that there's hardly even that sometimes, but then for it to the prices to be going up, like you don't want to be paying your client to build for them. Yeah. So, it's just about that education for me. Sometimes I get a bit like, I'm kind of happy I don't build for clients sometimes for that, because it doesn't matter what they have. You can say you've got a $2 million budget. It'll be a $5 million budget sometimes. I blame Instagram and Pinterest.
Well, everyone needs to be educated. Like I feel like you guys would have a lot of success now if you went back to client work, because you've got so much data, and like, I would assume that doing the jobs for yourself, you've probably got more data than most, because I'm sure there's been situations where you've done something, you're like, oh no, that's not what I want. We'll do that different way. Like you've probably spent more than you might have done with a client.
Oh, for sure. And it's easy to get carried away when you're doing it for yourself as well. There's been times where, we've sat down and I'm like, oh crap, I really have to rein it in. I've put these things in and this in, and, gone crazy with the LED strip lights and the sheer curtains, and oh, it looks so pretty. And your profit margin was teeny tiny, but the house looked amazing, So I think that's, it's definitely trial and error, but I definitely think keeping track of your costs. I mean, we use Xero for our accounting, and, I've never done any accounting course or anything like that. I'm all self-taught. Thank you, YouTube. But, keeping the tracking going, I track things in every stage, and, we wanted to keep track of our costs when we were building for clients. I wanted to know, I'm invoicing for this stage. How much does that stage actually cost me? And allocating your cost centers, having it all allocated properly definitely gave us a much better sort of overall. So I feel like, if we do go back and ever build for clients or anything like that, I'm well across that. I just got to make sure that I just keep Adam off site, because that guy is just the nicest man in the world, and he just wants to please everybody. If I was literally talking to some of the trades all the time, like, probably no one would want to work for us, because I'm less like a straight shooter. He sometimes is like, that came across a bit aggressive, but, I think for me, I've kind of been conditioned to just being maybe a bit full on, because I am a female in the industry as well. I don't like to be fluffy and all of that. I'm just like, if I don't like something, you'll just know. Yeah.
So what's your role? What's your actual title?
Oh,
in the business?
Man. Well, I don't know. The girls are like, you should put director on your email footer or something like that. And I'm like, yeah, but I don't know. Like, I guess for me, I used to be the project manager, and then I put out that I was not able to maintain what we were doing. I could not project manage 10 homes and do all the selections and all the accounting and make sure everything's running okay, just by myself. So we put out for an office manager on our Instagram, actually. And we have the most amazing office manager now. So she pretty much does a lot of that other stuff, that project management stuff of just ringing and checking that everyone's going to rock up when they're supposed to, and meeting with the supervisors or meeting with our general manager, who then will go out and chat with the supervisors. So pretty much now I do all the selections, I approve payments, and I get to try to go out inside as much as I can to make sure that all that vision is kind of coming to life.
So you're overseeing everything, making sure the wheels are turning.
For sure, yeah. And then just making sure those, female touches on things.
So what's
I think women buy houses,
Oh,
I think, you go in there, and it doesn't matter if that's a stay-at-home wife that's looking at that home. If she doesn't give it the tick of approval, that she can see her kids in the pool in the backyard and have a toy room and everything like that, that house is not getting bought.
This is a very important thing that most builders overlook. And my business partner in Live Life Build, Amelia, undercover architect, she will drum this into everyone. Like females make, I think it's 80% of the decisions when it comes to building.
Really?
So builders
I'm wrong with that.
So builders miss an opportunity, because I'm guilty of this back in the day. Like most of the times when I would rock up to meetings, or even when we're building projects, like it was a husband that would be meeting me. Whereas now, like when we schedule meetings, both parties have to be there. Like
That's great.
We never do a meeting, but the female wants to know what she's getting, wants to make it a home. They want to have input. So like a builder showing, we actually get a lot of work now because we talk so openly on Instagram about like how we get couples to meetings and how
That's great.
like we've actually had a lot of single women build with us because they've picked like I'm not sure on the right wording for it, lesbian, gay couples build with us. So because they're comfortable.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So I think so many builders overlook so many opportunities. Like
for sure.
Even back, I know we're going backwards, but getting back to the costing things, our industry is so focused on the bottom line. When actually, when you educate people, clients, buyers, whoever it is, on what they're actually getting and what you're actually doing, the problems you're solving, what you're going to deliver, you're adding value to them.
Absolutely.
And people will pay for value.
Absolutely. And that's the thing. I think people forget, and I think trying to do the right thing, and I threw my husband under the bus a bit because, he wants to give people what they want. But my thing is often, I said to you before, the house I'm currently living in is my 40th home.
Holy dooly.
Yeah. It's my 40th home. I'm not even 40 yet. I'm 40 next year, and it's my 40th home. That has come at a cost, obviously, but also I've learned so much about what I do and don't want. There is so many homes that I've lived in that that we built, and I was like, this is going to be great, this design. And then I move into it and I go, what the hell were you thinking? And I think to me, that experience is valuable if you were to buy one of our homes. If you were to
You've
build,
just attracted another 100 clients.
Yeah, well, do you know what I mean? Like you've learned from our mistakes. And I think exactly what you said, you're educating those clients because realistically, they might have an idea of what they want in their head, but they don't, they don't have that experience. They're relying on you to give your service, to actually, get, your two visions to create a beautiful home that they're going to want to bring their family and friends over to and, enjoy. It's going to be their sanctuary. And I think that's where I think a lot of people maybe get a bit lost is, you're trying to accommodate these clients, but, you need to set the expectation as well and, rein it in because I think, like I said, Instagram and Pinterest, there are just lots of information out there now. Like clients these days
The other important part is, but like I'm glad you touched on this because I'm a huge fan of this. Like, there is a massive difference between a house that feels like a home.
Yeah, I agree.
And a house that's just a house.
Absolutely.
Like, and I'm 100% firm believer in this now. Like, when you live in a home, it changes your life.
Absolutely.
Your stress levels are down, your anxiety's down, you're more organised, you'll have people over more because you're proud of it. It works, you've got storage, something that
ticks all those boxes, right? Yeah, because if you don't have storage, you got crap out everywhere, and what makes you more stressed? Having crap out everywhere. So
it bugs the shit out of me. Like, you see all these new master plan communities, and the houses are so small, the gutters are all touching each other, and no one's put any thought into anything, and so the garage ends up being another bedroom or a storage room, or it's got the camper trailer in it. And then the streets end up with all the cars parked on them.
And no one wants to entertain because no one can get a park. And exactly.
It's unbelievable. Like it's like we do a thing called the pack process. I sit in on all the design meetings, and I believe it's made me such a better builder because I understand now why designers and architects are doing things the way they're doing them, and I can help guide the costings of that and let people know if it's efficient or not efficient or if there's a better way, all those types of things. But I think it's really important for builders and designers and architects to really educate their clients on and push hard sometimes to get the clients to understand
the reasoning
for it. Like we only work with the designers and architects we work with are fantastic, and one thing that I really appreciate, two of them in particular, like they take the client on a journey.
Yeah.
Like when we're presenting, like we have the meeting together, they're presenting their design. It's not just here's the drawings, what do you think? Like it's like we start here and you enter here and the light's going to come through here and like, your kids will be able to entertain here and like you've told us you like. We've got a couple of clients at the moment and doctors, they work different shifts. So the other day he's talking through, well, like you've told me that like you wake up of a night because he comes home and turns the light on. So I've designed it like this so he can actually enter the walk-in robe and ensuite without affecting you. And
yeah, right.
Like
that's invaluable, right?
Yeah, like you're
because it's not just value. About like the plan on a paper. It's actually about how you as people are going to be living in that plan.
Yeah.
And I think that is something that often gets overlooked. We've done a couple of projects recently where we had architectural plans done. And, that was one stage. I talked about getting an office manager and things like that. We did outsource some design elements of things at one stage, thinking that we were just sinking. We just could not keep up with the workload.
So do you normally do the design yourself?
Yeah, well, Adam has actually pen and paper, scaled ruler, generally A3 piece of paper. We do all the designs ourselves, send it off to our building designer, and he sends it back in plans that we submit to BA, DA.
Yeah.
So that's generally how that every house that you usually see, that's how it's been done. Even our home that we renovated, like Adam, pencil and paper, we sat out, we worked it out, had a look at some things that we'd done in the past and what we loved, what we didn't like, how we wanted to change things, and kind of work it out like that. I mean, there's a lot of concepts of things that we do that are very similar that we just know works. You'll often find a lot of open plan. We love having, the bathroom upstairs, the kids' bathroom, right? We always love having the bath and the shower and a basin in there, but then a separate toilet and another basin, so that to us is like,
it's practical.
Really practical that, essentially if you have a door in the toilet and then you have another basin just outside the toilet, but then you have a whole nother bathroom, essentially you can have 3 kids using that one bathroom at one time, and they're not all in each other's, grill. So I think stuff like that, we'll do time and time again. That has always had really good feedback. Sometimes the feedback you hear, agents will tell you stuff, when we list a home, and it's hard to hear that, people don't like it. But then also we've sort of grown a pretty thick skin. We've got skin like rhinos nowadays, because I think a lot of people generally, when they're trying to look at our houses, maybe, are trying to talk themselves out of it, maybe because they can't afford it, which is really, it's crap that we're in that price bracket these days. I wish everyone could buy an Activates home, but unfortunately it's just not the way it is, close to the city and everything. But yeah, that's essentially
but you've been inspiring people. I'm sure there's people that just follow you, love your work, and they come to your homes, do a walkthrough, get inspired by things.
For sure. I mean, we love that. I mean, most of the questions we get, if I got $1 for every time I got asked, what's this paint color, what's this? And, we're not, like, to us, I've seen other people go, I can't believe you just share that information. I'm like, well, why not? Like, what's its secret? It out somewhere, to me, I'm like, that's the best compliment. If I remembered this one lady, she painted her entire house down to her front door color, the exact same color as one of the houses we'd built a few years back. And everyone's like, oh, it's like the roof's the same, the gutter's the same, the paint's the same, even the front door's the same. I'm like, that is honestly the biggest compliment. Like, I'm grateful that she was so inspired by a design selection I made. She decided to do her whole house from that. That's not, I feel like I've lost a feeling of exclusivity. Yeah. It's like, that's great.
So what's some of the things that you said before that you've lived in 40 homes and there's things you love and hate? Like what are some of those things?
My personality, I tend to overthink things just a little bit. Often I'll overthink functionality of things. Implementing things where I don't want the sink to be in the island, but I don't want to see the fridge and, things like that, which then created like a bottleneck in the kitchen and things like that. I've learnt to really kind of really look at the orientation of homes. I mean, light to me is like the quintessential, most important thing that you need to look at. 100%. Like what aspect that house
light and breezes.
Absolutely. What aspect that home is going to take in, maximizing the open plan and being able to entertain. We love entertaining. So, we live in Australia. We've got the best, and Brisbane has like the best weather ever. Yeah. So, for us, it's like, making it cool in summer, warm in winter, and just making sure that, got lots of plenty of good light. So, the things that I love the most is the open plan. That's just something we always look at. And where we can, depending on what size the block is and everything, but to try and have 2 rooms downstairs, people are working from home or, people are recording podcasts at home, people are doing lots of things. Yeah. So, to be able to have, kids room and then like a utility room or, 5th bedroom or something like that. That's something that I'll just never compromise on. And
Do you guys get into the sustainability type stuff or?
A little bit. Unfortunately, I know that there's movement coming up that, we're going to have to be putting solar on all the homes as well. personally, I kind of push back on things sometimes with stuff like that, because I feel like when government's great intentions of making builders do that, you know, I get the intention there, and I'm all green, and, you know, I mean, we've got a 45 kilowatt system on our house alone. Like, we don't pay for any electricity. I drive a Hyundai, but I have a Tesla battery in my car, so I look fancy in the garage. In my garage, I've got a Tesla battery, you know, to be able to use during the night. So I am pro that, but when government sort of makes us, you know, recommends that sort of stuff, I get worried about, you know, builders looking at the cost effectiveness of things, and then maybe it not being the greatest, you know, in the long run.
Well, a lot of it they do I don't know. My feeling is a lot of it they do. Like, a lot of the stuff they're bringing in is actually to try and solve problems that they've already created.
Correct.
Like,
yeah. I mean, I worry that the solar panel thing is going to be like the insulation, you know, debacle. Like, I have worries about that. Generally, we will set our homes up so that, you know, we can easily install solar panels, but we do the best insulation and isolation in our roofs and everything like that. So
condensation's a big one. Like, I think that's something we all, as builders, we definitely need to be paying more attention to. But again, we've created the problem because we're now creating more airtight homes because the windows have gotten better, and we're now using insulation in the walls. Like, when there was no insulation in the walls, there was a cavity and things could breathe. And now there's all these things that have just led to
absolutely
the problem, and now they're trying to patch it up.
Yeah, absolutely. But like you said, I mean, I think for us, we definitely take into consideration where breezes are going to be. I mean, western walls, I love to chuck all the utilities, like all bathrooms, everything like that. Let's chuck them on the western side, you know, the hottest part of the house. You know, it keeps all the, you know, the bedrooms and all the living areas and everything like that cooler. You know, I mean, we do put ducted air conditioning in all our homes, but, you know, we try to look at things so that, you know, that's not something you have to chuck on all the time.
Yeah, well, it's one of those things, isn't it? It's driven by demand. Like, a lot of people wouldn't buy a house if it didn't have ducted in it. Like,
yeah, absolutely.
Again, but then a lot of the time when they move into the house, they realise they don't need the air conditioning a lot. Like, But so have you done any coaching? Like, what's any mentoring? Like,
no, well, I mean,
you've mentioned a couple of times you love the YouTube.
Yeah, love YouTube. YouTube's coached me. Let's put it that way. You know, I there's been many a times over the last 18 years, Dwayne, where I've had to pretend like I understand of something that's going on site. I'm like, go back and Google, what is that? You know, and that's kind of helped coaching me. But as far as other people, I have spoken at NAWIC in the past, the National Association of Women in Construction. So I went out to the TAFE and had a chat to some women out there. You know, I think, like I mentioned, I think it's great that there's more women getting into trades. And
I'm blown away by, you said 11%. Like, that's, I would have thought, like we touched on before, like a lot of the suppliers and trades and that we deal with, like you ring up and it's a female working there.
Yeah,
like,
for sure. All my plumbing suppliers, electrical suppliers, most of them are female. You think, you know, that would drive that number up. But I think, it's growing and it's great. But I also, I love chatting to a lot of women, and I speak to a lot of women online. I try to always get back to anybody that contacts us via email or on social media. Like, I try to get back to them personally.
Yeah.
And, you know, be really open about the trials and tribulations, because, you know, I think there's that perception as a licensed builder myself. I think people think you have to have a trade to do that. And, you know, I kind of like to tell
you've
people.
Been very successful without coming from a trade background.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and that's the thing. I think if you've got an interest in stuff, you can learn so much, you know. So
have you had any coaching, like life coaching, mentoring, or has it just all been trial and error?
Trial and error, definitely. I did see a life coach for a little while there, you know, just to help, because I think, you know, when you embark on your own business, you know, it might be all, you know, the staff go home and, you know, you leave the office, but you know, too, you know, the wheels are still turning, right? You've constantly got that stuff. And I think it's really important to just work on yourself and make sure, you know, you're taking care of yourself. You know, obviously, I think from a business level, it's really important. There's always room for growth. Like, every time we build a home, we meet up with people and we go, okay, like, how could we have done that better? You know, with 10 homes a year that we're sort of delivering, we're like, well, can we still improve?
So do you do a review? Like when you get to the end of a project, do you do it? Like obviously you review the numbers, but like do you get your team in and talk about?
We love that. That's one of the things we love doing is when the home's finished, we get the guys and, obviously the crews all working on different projects at a time. We've got 3 carpentry crews and we love to get them all there and sort of really celebrate that crew that, has brought that home to life. And, everyone gets along and, we put some sushi on, have a couple of beers, we all sit in the space and we're like, oh, this is how, the buyers are going to entertain in this home. Yeah. And then it gives everyone the opportunity to walk around and be like, oh, that could have been better. That could have been finished better. And it's not about criticizing. It's about growth. There's always growth in there, picking up on things. I even get a hard time. Some of the guys are like, mate, what was that? That's decision on that tile. Like, that's disgusting. It looks like vomit, I'm a big fan of terrazzo personally, but not everyone is. But, all of that, I think it's really important to, just constantly reflect and grow. I think that's some way we always do. And also one thing we've always we've started to do every year is do personal reviews. You said you guys do it, yourselves, but it's more of a corporate thing. I think like a lot of people go, oh, that's not something builders do, like a carpenters do.
Everyone should be doing it.
But everyone. Even myself and Adam, we write out, and look at what we wrote last year, like, did I reach those goals? Like what, setting just 3 simple work-related goals that, and looking back on it 12 months later, because 12 months just goes like that,
Yeah, well,
we're staring down, it's nearly Santa time already,
Do it monthly. I think I'm a huge fan of reflection and like writing in a journal. I try and do it multiple times a week. I think to be able to continue to have a clear mind, to have growth and keep moving forward and be committed all the time, for me anyway, like I've got to it clears my mind, like just writing it down, like what I've achieved, what I've done, what I've got, what I'm aiming for.
Yeah.
And a lot of the time it changes. Like 2 days earlier, I might have written that I wanted something completely different, but just getting it out of my head and writing it down and reflecting on things, I think is a really powerful exercise to do.
Yeah, absolutely. And we work on lists, right? Like you just constantly, if you go into any of our homes, all the guys are great at, writing down, on the ply, like all the lists. I rock up and they have to add about 10 extra things that drives them nuts. But, I think it's just, there's nothing more satisfying than like ticking those things off, So not even just at a work level.
We touched on this before, like ADHD, dyslexia, those types of things. Let's have a chat about that.
Yeah, definitely. Well, like you said, you've touched on it before on one of your previous episodes, and I definitely see it as a superpower.
I think it's great coming from a female.
Yeah.
Because honestly, for me, I saw it as maybe it's more of a blokey thing and it's something in the
because
industry.
boys are the ones that are disruptive in class. That's the first sort of, red flag is, these disruptive boys. They just got so much energy. But
well, I like that you touched on before when you were back at school, you got pulled up for that.
Yeah, they wanted to keep me back. They said I was shy. Could you believe that? Seriously, I think that was one thing. They thought I was shy and disruptive because I was shy, which, like looking back on it, one thing my mum did really well was pull up and find out that I had dyslexia quite early on, which got me the assistance to be able to sort of sort it out a bit in that way. Like I don't have too many issues now if I need to draft an email and sound quite official or whatever, and I got through school okay. But the ADHD, I think, is definitely gives me the ability to sort of focus on many things at once. Often I'll have days, and I hate when I do, but I'll have days where I literally don't achieve anything, but I felt busy the whole day.
Yeah.
And I know sometimes I've got to really refocus when, I am having days like that. But
what do you do to focus?
I'm a big Pilates person, so I've got to either jump on my bike or do some Pilates, get some fitness into there. That definitely helps. Just to really focus. It's just a matter of just keeping your body moving and everything like that. And I find having that recentering and that refocus can definitely just some time by yourself, with nothing else, and keeps your mind off things. You were talking about ice baths. I was listening to one of your episodes, and something that just really stops your mind just from being so busy.
Yeah, and obviously you can't do Pilates and ice baths and that all the time, but it's really important to be able to know when you're in that, because I have to catch myself all the time.
Yeah.
And
you're not achieving anything, right?
Yeah,
You're just you've got too many things on that your mind's short-circuiting, right?
Yeah, so just taking 5 minutes to,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, do a bit of breathing, write in my book, or just sit and chill.
Yeah.
And then start again.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think it's a superpower.
Yeah.
I think you've got to learn to, I don't know, we were just talking about this before. Like, I think I have this concern that there's lots of people out there. Like, it's easy to take the easy road with everything. Like, everybody can say life's hard. I can't achieve that. I'll never have that. Like, it's all easy.
Yeah.
It's actually easier to be successful once you get structure and systems. But I think there's so many people out there that go and get diagnosed with these types of things and then go backwards because once
like an excuse, right?
And look, I actually think I would probably be that person that fell into that trap. Like if I went and got diagnosed, it'd become an excuse.
Yeah.
And then it'd be like in my mind, it'd be like, oh, well, yeah, I'll never achieve that because I've got this and I've got that.
Yeah, but I think also you can also be a reason for success. So you could look at it as an excuse, or it could be the reason for your success. So I think, being able to just focus on lots of things at once makes you a good manager or a good operator. But then also, like, I think with the dyslexia as well, it makes, like, to me, I feel like I was sort of touching on before, that I feel like I see patterns on things, and I just have this easy ability to sort of read people. Like, I will meet with people and I'll tell my husband, I'll preempt a reaction that trade gives us, a week later or something like that. And I'm like, I read that. I don't know what it was, but I knew that. I could see in his face, like, this or that, or, and also, like, with some of our guys, I'm like, something's going on with him. Like, we need to, like, let's go take Smoko over there and have a chat because I think something's up. And, that can be, a matter of life or death sometimes, like, I've heard you touch on it before, Dwayne, where, there's a lot of guys that are and girls that are struggling, and, the industry's rife with it.
Yeah.
But, I think, really being able to focus on that is a superpower. 100%.
Well, that's why we're sitting here having this chat. Like, I think these conversations need to be had so people aren't sitting around thinking, oh, I've got this or I've got that, or like, hopefully your story, my story, everyone that comes on the podcast is giving people hope that I like to think that they're listening to this and they have that sort of light bulb moment. They're like, that's me.
Yeah,
like,
for
if they've gotten through it, I can get through it. Oh yeah,
27, had no hair, no boobs, no money. And, fast forward, like I back then, Tarah in a beanie, she would not have fathomed that she's here now. Like, just, but, and it doesn't happen overnight. It's been a gradual process. And I think that's the thing. I mean, we keep touching on it. It's not an overnight fix, right? You just work hard. And like I said, I always say it's so funny. People go, oh, you're so lucky. You're so lucky. And it's like, well, it's really funny that, you become luckier the harder you work. Like, honestly, it is. And, having no stairs for 2 years of my life, and it's not an easy feat to climb up those gorilla ladders with groceries in your hand, but
and
you just did
at some
it,
stage a toddler as well.
So you just make do. And I think that there's no success, and you wouldn't enjoy it as much had you not had that journey. I mean, we were talking about GFC and what you guys had to go through, and I think you can't really celebrate your victories if you haven't hit rock bottom at some stage, right?
Well, that's definitely been another turning point for me. Like, rather than, like we touched on before, I was telling Tarah, we used to do some developing. We had a business partner. We did speckies in around St. Lucia, and GFC came. We got stuck with some, and like back then, those types of things would, like, I'd get down, I'd get depressed, I'd be like, fucking what? Like, why me? Why is this happening? Like,
because you're in it, right? You're not seeing the forest for the trees as well. You can't see a way out. Yeah. It's very easy to get that way, right?
Everything, like putting out fires on site, like the smallest things became, like, ruined my day. And I was so focused on, like, fuck this. Like, I'm gonna go and clean toilets. Like, this is, like, there's easier ways to do this. Like, fucking, why aren't I earning more money? Like, everything was a drama. Everything grew into, like, a tiny problem, grew into a mammoth problem. Yeah. Because of the way I was letting it. Yeah. Whereas now I just, like, I reflect now on that situation, the GFC, and I just think, well, like that was fantastic. Like that was lucky we got stuck with those homes because we learned how to do corporate leasing, and
For sure.
like we've been able to implement that in other, like I think you really, if like you flick that switch, and like my thing now is there is a solution for everything.
Oh, absolutely.
Like if you turn all your problems into a solution, so everything. Like I think my boys on site get the shits with it now because like nothing pisses me off.
Yeah.
Like, even if it
you just
costs
don't
me,
let it. It shouldn't either, right? It's
But
just
even if it's
stuff that's got a solution.
even if it's going to cost me money, we'll learn from it.
Yeah.
Like why did it happen?
Don't let it happen again.
Yeah.
Then we'll have a problem, right?
Yeah. So have a team meeting about it. Look, guys, it's fine. You made a mistake, or that's wrong, or whatever it is. Let's learn from it. Like, did we not? Like, do we need to improve our system? Like, is there something? Like, should we have had a team meeting about this before you started, or we should have got the client to do this, or like, there is a solution for everything.
For sure.
And like, you leave a site now. Like, I just like every day is just fantastic. Like, I can't wait to get up out of bed. Like, actually, I listen to a lot of the real Brad Lee. I think he's a legend. But he was saying on one of his podcasts the other day, like, someone asked him, "What's your morning routine?" And they said, what's the first thing you do? And he said, smile.
Oh, wow. That's great. And I guess it's easy when you love what you do, right? You know,
I just think that is fantastic. Like the first thing when you wake up in the morning is just look out the window and smile. And he said, I smile because I've woken up.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
Every day that I wake up alive is a brilliant day.
Absolutely.
Like,
yeah.
And I think that's an incredible attitude to have.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we didn't even know if I was going to be around 12 years ago, let alone, you know, to have achieved what we've achieved now. And I feel like I'm living the dream. Like, to be honest, I know all the stuff, I hear these things coming out of my mouth. I'm like, can you be more of a cliche? But it's so true. It's, you know, if you're really passionate about it, you know, the success will come. You know, if you're smart about it and you continue to learn. You know, I say that to my kids. I'm like, I don't care if you want to be, you know, I used to say to my son, he was obsessed with garbage bins. I'm like, you want to be a garbologist, mate, and that makes you happy. I'll support you. You know, you do it well, you'll get paid well, you know, whatever. You'll have a fleet of garbage trucks. That's great. You know, I think as long as you're passionate, like we are so lucky. My best friend is, she fled Bosnia. Her parents, you know, during the war came over here, and it's so crazy to think of, you know, that war in the 90s, you know, to happen in our day and age.
Yeah.
And, you know, they literally escaped with all their belongings. They stuck it into her, you know, her nappy and her clothes and everything like that to come over here to Australia. And now they own their home, and, you know, she's a nurse, and, you know, she's independent woman. And I just think what amazing opportunities we have here. So, you know, I just think we're so lucky, and as long as you're prepared to work and make sacrifices, you know, you can do anything. It's music to my ears. It's exactly how I and look, it hasn't always been that way, but like, and it obviously wasn't always that way for you either. No, but
you've got to like, one thing that really frustrates me is people that put themselves in a category because of their job or whatever, like, I only earn this or I only earn that. Like, it doesn't matter whether you're cleaning toilets, whether you're a garbage man, whether you're a builder, whether you're like even an architect, designer, like anything, a doctor. Yeah. Like, you can have a professional at anything that doesn't earn a lot of money. Or you can have someone that is passionate about what they do, puts 110% in every single day, and earns incredible money.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, you can have an architect that earns $80,000 a year.
Yeah.
You can have an architect that earns $80 million a year. Like,
absolutely.
It is what you put into it.
Yeah. And building connections and everything, I think definitely, you know, helps, I think.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. And I think that's
the people you hang around, the circles you can, like, I'm a massive believer in that. Like, even just picking up the phone sometimes and saying g'day to someone and seeing how they are and staying in a loop can be a massive reflection on who you are and what you've got.
Absolutely. And I'm sure your guys pick up on that energy. You know, you said it annoys them when, you know, you're on site but nothing seems to bother you. That'll be that calming energy that they'll, you know, learn from as well. And I think, you know, moving forward, if those guys go and they venture into their own business or something like that one day, you know, they're going to, you've been their mentor in that way. Yeah. You know, one day they're going to have things and it's going to be their money or their cost or whatever. Like, I think, you know, as owner-operators, often, the buck stops with you if there's a mistake or something like that. We have it on all the sites. Like, we're the ones that
That's
are fixing up
ownership.
stuff, it's, the buck stops with us. We're the ones that, something hasn't got done right, or, like old mates put a wall in the wrong spot or whatever. We have to like rip out all the cabinetry, like, gyprock has to go back up, painters have to come back, whatever. It's like the buck stops with us. But, like, it's to support, our team members that have made that mistake and be like, okay, cool. Like, that's pretty shit. But like,
why did it happen? Let's resolve it.
Exactly. Cool. So we just made a simple mistake when, when we were flicking out on the slab, we just made a simple mistake of our own judgment, and, we'll learn from it. That's not going to happen again, is it?
But that's a perfect example. Like, there would be builders out there that happens to, and it would ruin their day, week, month, year, life. Like, they would get so focused that issues happen that I'm not making any money anyway. Like, that's going to cost me more money. Like, the team's fucked. Like, why do they do this? Like, blame. Like, just, it's happened. Deal with it. Reflect on it. Why did it happen? Let's not make it happen again. Yeah. Move on.
I mean, it is frustrating. I think when it is your money and, mistakes have been happening from someone else that,
well, it's a different story if it happens 3 times.
Yeah, exactly. But, it's not to invalidate the fact that it is frustrating, but, I think you can't die in a ditch in it, like you said, you're still here,
So you must have incredible support from your husband, like, with what
great.
You've been through and what you've been able to build, like, you must be an amazing team.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're pretty formidable because we have got completely separate interests in our business. So, he is, we've been doing this for 18 years and he'll still see me come home with like a tile sample and be like, well, that's disgusting. And then, fast forward to 5 months later when the house is handing over and he's like, whoa, that was good. I'm like, yep, that's great. Yeah. That's why you don't let you choose tiles, But, his ability to, that spatial awareness he has, having been a chippy with, doing all these designs up for the homes and then, just giving me full control over all the rest of the design elements. We talk about the facades we want. We talk about, whether we're in character areas, is it sympathetic to the streets, So from the very beginning, we're chatting about different things, and stuff that he looks at is stuff that I'm looking in the completely different direction. Yeah. And so I think that's why, we kind of work. He's a great people person, whereas I'm kind of like numbers and productivity and, all that sort of stuff. But he is just like the friendliest man. So nothing worries him. Whereas, my mind's sort of very active all the time and overthinking things. And, I worry, like, he sort of can say stuff and then not ever think about it ever again, and doesn't care. Like, he's like, I've said it and I said it nicely, so won't think about it ever again. Whereas I'll say things and I'm like, did I say that nicely? Oh my God, like, could I have said it better? And got too much introspection sometimes. Like, I think I just, struggle with that. So, I think definitely working as a team has worked well because we're never competing with each other. We're always working with each other and kind of really backing each other. I think we've always got each other's back. I sometimes will say something and, he will, talk to me afterwards if he disagrees with something. And I think, having that unified front about stuff is really, really important.
So what's his role in the business?
I don't know. On the bottom of his letterhead, he literally on his emails he says like,
I hope you don't listen to this.
Yeah, no, it's hilarious. On the bottom of his emails, it says the master of nothing at all. So he thinks it's really funny. It even goes to like our conveyances and all of that sort of stuff. He does acquisitions, so he's the one that deals with real estate agents and stuff like that. He's the people person, so he has just got the gift of the gab. He can do that. And then doing the designs, and then he pretty much hands over to our GM then just to get everything else out of the ground. But yeah, design and acquisitions would be his prime focus.
Well, that's definitely a full-time job if you're turning over 10 homes a year and you've got to find those homes, design those homes.
Yeah, and that's right. You just need to have good people, working with you. Otherwise, there's no way you can manage it. Just
so what's yourself. What's a couple of tips you'd give for, because I believe the building industry is pretty much run off the back of husband and wife teams. Mm-hmm. And a lot of time, even if it's not the partner working in the business full time, like most tradies wouldn't survive if they didn't have their some wife or partner
Yep.
doing bookwork or helping them use a
Yeah.
computer or something.
Yeah. I think, so my biggest thing is probably, I mean, the ones that you love often can be the ones that cop it the most, you know? Like, I think, you know, you feel so comfortable with your spouse and everything. If you're going to be working with your spouse, I think it's just to always just separate your personal and the work. You know, it's not personal. If I used to take a lot of, you know, offense if I was criticized with, you know, by Adam, you know, with something that maybe I'd said or done. I'd take it really personally. It's like, I'm not criticizing you because, you know, you delayed sending that invoice and now we're not getting paid till now, or blah, 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 or, you know, you forgot to do this and now we can't get the house on the market, you know, when we wanted to, or whatever it was. To not take it personally. It's just a business, you know, it's just business, and just separating that, you know, and also just trying to really separate when you're at home with the kids. You're at home with the kids. Like, that's really important to us. And one of the reasons we only build sort of close to, you know, where our home is.
So you have a home office?
We do have a home office. We try to not sneak up off to it until after our kids are in bed. You know, for us, it's important. And, you know, there are times when there's the quiet and, you know, you've had things on your mind, you need to action some things, you know, before, you know, the staff come in tomorrow or before the guys head up on site. You know, it's really important to make sure you get all your ducks in a row. You know, I think for us, it's just being patient with each other and just not taking things personally.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think that's good advice.
Yeah.
Because it is, like, yeah, Camille and I work together. It is, there's definitely days where it's stressful, but most days it's a good thing.
It's a good thing. I think just having someone that's got your back, you know, like your spouse, you know, should be your support when you have a crap day. If you know, you do take it home after work or whatever, like, I think it's really important to be able to openly speak to somebody about it, you know, like offloading that, just verbalizing the difficulties you've had. Sometimes it can just clear it off. You know, you say about writing in your journal or you know, just recentering, you know, that just something as simple as that, to be able to, you know, gauge if someone's, you know, sometimes I say to Adam, I'm like, I'm at like 20% right now. Like, I've just had such a full on day. I'm like at 20% like energy level, and the kids are at me or whatever. I'm like, and, you know, he's like, nah, I've got you. I'm spotting your extra 80% or whatever. It's vice versa. You know, he's maybe not as good as identifying when he's having a bad moment as probably I am, but, you know, we're working on it, and I just have to be like in tune, like, okay, cool, he's a bit stressed about something. You know, he's trying to get these plans back from the building designer or something like that. You know, DA is giving us, you know, councils maybe come back and we have to amend the plans for a third time because they're not happy with DA and stressing him out because we just got houses sitting there and interest is so expensive. So, yeah, just give and take, you know. You're in a partnership after all, right?
Yeah, it's important to know each other's strengths and weaknesses, but isn't it? Like, I know something that's made Camille and I just stronger and stronger is, like, more so me than her, but just learning what ticks her off.
Yeah.
And like, just simple things, like even like, I used to come into the office and like give her this big list because I just got there, and like not think that she's in the middle of something. She's already got a lot on her plate, and like, so now I email. I sit down and I just send her an email
when you can get to it. Yeah,
and
that's
she'll
great.
send back done like
That's
just
great.
little things like that. Like, you've got to if you want to, because it can get overwhelming and start to affect the relationship very quickly.
And the resentment, you never want that to come in, right?
Yeah.
I mean, what's it all for? What are you doing it all for if you're not getting a stronger relationship out of it? The moment that we've had in, you know, over the years, we've had moments where, you know, we've had arguments about work, and we like kind of look at each other going, what are we doing this for? Like, if it's affecting our relationship, what the hell are we doing this for? Like, we are working this hard so that we have a great future. So, you know, we can spend more time with our families, so we can have, you know, more things in life. But if we don't have each other, then what the hell is the point?
Yeah. What's some things you've had to overcome, like being a female in the industry? Like,
how long have we got? No, no, it's not that bad. Like, in all honesty, I don't see a lot these days because we're pretty established with, you know, the people we deal with. Most of the people know who I am. We've got an okay social media presence, which I think, you know, people sort of generally have an idea of who we are before meeting us anyway. But, you know, there is times, you know, where I do have to prove myself and that I do know a bit more than maybe what they maybe interpret that I know. You know, there's lots of older guys in the industry that, you know, oh, hey, sweetheart, you know. I've had a few times where, you know, we're getting the, you know, natural gas from the street into a home or something like that, you know, and the guys are just doing their job. You know, the traffic controllers are sort of stopping pedestrians and stuff like that. And I have to get on site. And, you know, I rock up and, you know, I'm walking on site and it's like, no, you can't go in there. I'm like, yeah, I can. I'm authorized to go in there. No, you can't go in there. And I just said, see that QBCC license on that fence? That's mine. That is my license number. So I'm getting in there, right? Oh, sorry, lady. Like, you know, it's just, you know, and it's probably innocent enough, but, you know, times where I've gone to go and, you know, purchase things and I'm negotiating, you know, like prices and stuff like that. And maybe sometimes I've got Adam there with me and literally they're just making eye contact with Adam the whole time. I'm not even there. And, you know, it's like, mate, like, I'm actually the owner of the business here. Like, you know, I'm the one making the design decisions or whatever. It's that, you know, we're in a partnership. So I think it's changing though. Like, but yeah, you know, I think you get that as a woman anyway.
What advice would you give? Like I think probably one of my most proudest moments with this podcast is we get lots of people telling us we're saving lives and things, but we had I think it was a 16-year-old girl send us an email, which I never would have thought would have been listening. And I had a podcast with one of our building designers.
Yeah.
And she was like, oh, love your podcast. Appreciate what you're doing. Had no idea what I wanted to be. But after that podcast, I'm going to be a building designer.
That's amazing.
Like, what advice would you give for a young female out there that's considering any job in our industry?
Well, I just think the sky's the limit. There is just so many opportunities. Like, I mean, if you're a creative, there is just so much you can do in the building industry. You know, you can be a building designer, you can be an architect, you can be an interior designer. There is just so many things that you can do. You're good with your hands, then maybe do a trade, like I was saying, you know, welding or, you know, lots of things where you can be creative and still use your hands and things like that as well, you know. You know, you could be a project manager. Like, you know, you can go and get a project management job and, you know, work out, you know, the different stages of building to then work up to getting, you know, your building license. You know, it's so easy to be able to study online. You know, COVID's, you know, made it even easier again, you know, to do TAFE. That I think don't be scared that you have to be a tradie to achieve things or to know things. You know, things will come. You know, I think most of the things you learn isn't by sitting down in this industry. I don't believe a lot of the stuff that you learn is just hands-on experience, whether you are doing a trade or not. It's hand-on experience. It's, you know, making mistakes and learning, you know, even if you are always in an office just drawing up plans, like, you know, it's really important to then go out on site and see those people that are bringing your plans to life. Like, what's the point in making these amazing house designs if you're not going to see the finished product? And I think, you know, as if we can you just take the first step to just know, and I think opportunities just come. There's just so many opportunities in this industry. I don't know of any other industry that you could be any type of personality and still be able to find something that you love within building. It's just such a unique industry.
I think it's incredibly exciting times.
Yeah,
I think,
definitely.
If you're a female out there or any young person for that matter that just wants to get in, like I feel like the biggest thing our industry has to do is I feel there's a big part of it that are very stuck in, I'm not even sure the words for it, but like the old school banter and
I mean, you have that. Like, I mean, if you're going to go on site, you can't take offense.
You've got to expect a bit of it.
You know, exactly. Like I'm pretty easygoing. I'm pretty left wing. Like, you know, you can swear in front of me, whatever. Like my husband laughs because I have this, like, I call it the builder's drawer, where I sort of like, you know, just like chat a little bit different, you know, try to have some banter with the guys, you know, make them feel a bit, you know, like, I'm relatable, right? And I don't want them to feel like I'm going to take offense. You know, a lot of these guys, maybe I think as well, like a lot of guys that we see on site sometimes that the older guys, got into being a tradie because they didn't do well at school, right? And you don't have to do well at school to be a good tradie either.
Or to be successful.
Or to be successful at any field. It's 100%. But I think like a lot of them maybe, didn't do so well, maybe, had lack of education or whatever. And so feel like they don't even know where to start, chatting with me on site or whatever. But to me, I'm fine. Like, I think I just got to make sure that I just make other people feel comfortable. Like, and often when you get those guys on site, you sometimes have these bravados and, they're swearing and they're cursing. And, to me, I just look at it like, he's really uncomfortable. He's acting that way because he's really uncomfortable. A lot of the guys that sort of do that, I'm like, okay, so I just got to make him feel at ease. And that's how I just sort of try and do it. If they talk down to me or whatever, I'm like, yeah, cool. He's just feeling a bit threatened. So I just make sure I'm like, I'm no threat, mate. Like,
you're it sounds to me like you're very aware of people's, like your surroundings and what's going on.
Yeah.
I think that's important.
That's definitely the reading of the ADHD. I think I'm like always assessing the situation with things. But I think also it's really important to just, make those connections. Like if I go on site and you make someone feel comfortable and you make them feel like you respect, even if they're, it's just the renderer or, whatever, like, that I have guys that, our rendering team, they come and they'll just be rendering just the edge of the step down or something like that. But I make sure I make an effort when I see them on site to use their names, to thank them for their job, to say goodbye when I'm leaving site, even if I'm not there to see them, and just make them feel like they're really, really important.
Yeah.
If you can do that, those respect. Guys as well, if I need them to do a bigger job, they'll come back and they'll work on a Saturday for me, because they're like, you know what, like, I want to make sure I have that work. I'm respected and, I'm valued, and you get the best result then. You're keeping them happy. You pay your bills on time and you make people feel like human beings. It's the most important thing.
So many important things there. Like respect is huge. Like I think there's definitely a lot of older people in our industry and people that have been brought up old school that need to sort of have a think about the respect side of things, I reckon. Like
absolutely.
Especially when it comes to the younger people in the industry, apprentices and things. Like everyone deserves respect. Like,
yeah, absolutely. I know that I sometimes hear guys on site, saying how the apprentices are soft or whatever. It's not like, we used to get nails shot at us, to hurry up or whatever. And I don't know what it was like when you were doing your apprenticeship or whatever, Dwayne. But like I've heard stories like that. But, I just think it's not about being soft or anything like that. It's just treating people with respect. I think you don't know what's going on. You don't know why, so-and-so's picking up their phone. They might not just be scrolling through things. They might be going through stuff, they need a bit of escapism or something like that, checking in with people and just being respectful. Yeah. If someone's going slow and you want them to hurry up, check in. What's going on, mate? Like, what's going on with you?
Yeah, it's so important. Like, I think so many people are very quick to think, like, just go off at people. Like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, come on, we're in a hurry. We've got to get this done. Like, rather than saying, like you just said, like, hey, mate, like, is everything all right? Like, like, how come you're on the phone so much? Like, ask questions. Like, figure out what's going on. Like, someone could have passed away. They could have a fight with their partner that morning. Like, there's so many things going on. And
that's it. If you don't give them a space to even start the conversation, they're never going to do it. Because if you're in a rush and you're just into your own thing.
And it goes back to what we talked about before. Like, you'll keep getting more and more frustrated because you'll see that they're not working to the quality or the speed that you want them to. Instead of just having that tiny conversation, hey, mate, what's going on? Hey, come at the front. Let's just have a quick chat. Like, it's important. Like, life is really simple, isn't it?
It is very simple when you put it like that, right? But and that's the thing, I think. And also, I think it's really important if you are going through things. I mean, like you said, you've had messages of people saying, you saved my life or whatever. Like, it's nothing to be ashamed of if you are struggling either. Yeah. Like, I think, I've been through it, where there was times where I was like really, really struggling and, we had no money, we had huge debts. And, I just think to be able to talk to people and, we were lucky enough that we had lots of people that we could talk to about it and offload and talk about how much we were struggling to guide us. Because when you're in it and you're amongst it, it's really hard to kind of claw yourself out, right?
100%. And it's, again, it's that perception. People just see the shiny new house or the shiny finished project. They don't realise
blood, sweat and tears behind that. Yeah.
They don't realise for 3 months that literally you were living off the smell of an oily rag because like there was millions of dollars outstanding over here and someone not paying over here. Like,
absolutely.
It's always a juggling act.
Yeah. But it's it is really rewarding once you get out of it. And I think we feel very lucky, but it hasn't come easily. And we still have the haters and stuff like that. I think we've got lots of people that want to tear us down.
You got to have some haters.
Yeah, I love my favorite thing to do on Instagram is like I love doing these polls with things, and I'll sometimes throw in one like do you like the look of this house or something like that, and it's like hell's yeah, nah, can't stand it or whatever. And how many people like actually vote for that? I'm like, why are you following us? Like, what have I done to you? And now I just laugh. I'm just like, oh mate, like get alive, or this like, oh I hate the way you've done this or blah blah blah. It's like, oh okay, cool, don't buy the house then, mate. Like
oh, you're always gonna get them. I think haters just prove that you're getting out there and people are taking notice.
Oh, yeah, for sure. You're not doing anything right if you're not upsetting somebody. We try to do our best. Neighbours are often, it's like anything in building, we start early, but we finish early. And, we're in their space. The neighbours are at you because you're in their space. And
as soon as the first day, like you're on a site, all of a sudden the neighbours
I can't get a park out my house.
Yeah.
Won't be forever, I promise.
Yeah. So what's next for Tarah and Active? Like where to from here?
We've got a few houses that we're launching before Christmas. So hopefully people buy them so we can enjoy our Christmas. Yeah. We've got another 4 homes that we've got going to market before the end of the year. So in varying areas around inner Brisbane. In northern Brisbane, and then 2024 we've set to have like a bigger year than even we have had this year. So we're just gonna keep acquiring land and homes and just keep doing it.
What you do.
I'd love to retire, maybe one day. I don't know. Our son's 13 and he reckons he's going to take it over.
I don't know if you could retire.
I don't think I could. Like, I'm too much of a control freak. So, the plan is just to keep going and keep doing it. But
do you see yourself getting more involved with the breast cancer stuff?
Yeah, for us, it's close to heart. We find it really rewarding. We're definitely going to keep donating to the National Breast Cancer Foundation. We're encouraging the real estate agents that then sell our homes to make a donation to. We're running a raffle, which we'll put on our socials and everything like that. This month, we've got like $1,000 Carlisle hotel voucher and things like that. And all the proceeds are going to go to NBCF. So we want to be involved and continue to just wear our pink shirts with pride and spark that, chat about health and well-being. And, obviously breast cancer health is in the forefront of our minds, but for anything, anything within the industry, just starting that conversation about, taking care of yourself and taking care of your loved ones. I love it. Thanks so much for taking the time out today to join us. So how do people find you? What's your socials and stuff? So on socials, we're activates_construction. So it's activates with an S. It's an anagram actually. So that's how that name came out. And our website's activates.com.au. So obviously if you want to keep on track of any of the homes we've got coming up, you can subscribe to our website or follow us on socials for it. And what about the breast cancer stuff? Is there anywhere listeners can support that sort of thing? We'll have a link in our bio for this month, and we've always got a link on our website to go and check it out, see what we're doing and how we're involved and how you can get involved with NBCF as well. So awesome. Look, thanks so much for your time. There's been lots of bombs. I'm sure you've added a lot of value to a lot of people, and keep doing the incredible job you're doing. I really think I look forward to watching you guys and seeing, I just love seeing people be successful. It's fantastic. And the fact that you're supporting all the breast cancer stuff, it's just next level. So just keep doing what you're doing. Thanks, Dwayne. Are you ready to build smarter, live better, and enjoy life? Then head over to livelikebuild.com/elevate to get started. Everything discussed during the Level Up podcast with me, Dwayne Pearce, is based solely on my own personal experiences and those experiences of my guests.
The information, opinions and recommendations presented in this podcast are for general information only, and any reliance on the information provided in this podcast is done at your own risk. We recommend that you obtain your own professional advice in respect to the topics discussed during this podcast.